Hello there, I'm Graham Roberts, and this is the fourth part of a tutorial showing how one can capture key events, that is a key press, in Java and use it to relocate a button on the screen. What we've been doing is creating a form from a frame and creating a screen from a panel which we place onto the form, and then we've placed our avatar as a button onto the panel. We've created listeners, as they're called, so that we can capture the key presses, and we used, if you recall, we used the interface key listener. We added the key listener to the form or frame, and we had already added, as we're forced to do, the abstract methods for the interface. There were three. The one we actually want to use is key pressed, which takes as an argument the key event E, which we're going to be exploiting. How do we do that? Well, that's the subject of this tutorial. As is my style for this tutorial, I'm actually putting the code in and then explaining it. The comment, is the right arrow key pressed, is really suggesting what the code, the selection construct, the if statement, here is doing. The condition that we're looking at is whether or not the key pressed is the arrow that faces right. So we first of all write E, and we get a list. If we just do E dot, if we do E dot, we're going to have a list of the alternative methods that are accessible, and it happens to be that they are get key char, get key code, get key location, and so on. We actually want key code, so that's what we've used there, key code. I'm asking if it equals the key event constant known as VK right. If we look at, let me just get a bit of space there. If we put the dot in, you can see there are many constants. These green expressions here are constants, and you can see there are many of them, but the VK series are really of the number pad type, let's say that, and the one that we've been looking at is VK right, which is down here. You can see there's function keys and all kinds of good things. There's the Numpad keys. If you want to use the keys to perhaps make it go diagonally, you'll probably want to use the number pad keys. For example, the way they're laid out on most keyboards are such that you could have 1 and 3 being respectively south, west and south east if one had a compass. Anyway, that's by the by. We've got VK right here, and we just stop the interface from screaming by putting back the property to the object. I've put move right here because you could actually write in here statements which move it. However, it turns out that there are a lot of constraints you have to take account of before you move the button or avatar. For example, you can't move off the form, and in a game you wouldn't want to be able to move, say if there was a boulder there, you don't want to be able to move the avatar into a boulder or a wall. So the idea of having a method called move right is sensible. This move right method is actually this, and it's one of the methods that we have. Well, not yet, because we haven't written it. The point is that it will actually make it for us if we let it do so. So let's try that and see if it does it for us. Well, it's put it somewhere, and you can see there it's put it down here. Well, we could have just typed that in, but it does give me a little bit of joy sometimes to see that it does almost everything it can for you. Notice that this is a private method. The wisdom of the IDE is unimpeachable here. What it's actually saying is that this is a helper method. It doesn't need to be public, and shouldn't be public, because we want to practice data hiding and encapsulation, so we want to actually keep it in the class, if you like. So it's only ever going to be accessed inside this class. In fact, the only place it's ever going to get called is here in the key press handler. It doesn't have to be positioned where it's put it, though. That might actually be rather unhelpful down here. So I'm going to move it so that it's actually much more in the main area, literally underneath the above. Well, we could put it above the main method, or we can put it below. It's arguable it should be above or below. It's it's up to you. I wish I'd never started this, but I want to put it there because it actually helps me with my tutorial. So I'm going to place it there, and do remember that was created by the IDE, although you could in fact have created it yourself. What we're going to put into... Now, it turns out that you have a few decisions to make at this point, and they relate to really how precise you want the constraints to be, and indeed what the constraints are that you want on your avatar. But to get it to go right, one thing we do know is that we have to move the x-coordinate to the right. We have to increment the value of the x-coordinate of the button so that it's bigger than it was. But also we don't actually want to change the y-coordinate value, because we're not going diagonally, we're just going to the right hand side of where it is currently positioned. Or if it was a compass, you might be thinking it's going east. Right. You can see that the IDE doesn't like this. Well, what it doesn't like is that it doesn't know what X is, or rather it thinks it knows and it's not happy with what it is. If I just hover over there, it says X is not public in component. Well, that is in fact misleading. X doesn't even exist. We haven't actually made an instance variable called X or Y, and we need them. So what we're going to do is create them up here. It did a lovely job earlier of making it for us, but this time it's not so keen. So we're just going to put an int type X, and we're going to have an int type Y as well for the Y coordinate, like that. Of course they're not final because they're going to actually change. They are variables. Right, really we should put a little comment here saying what they are, and so I'll put X coordinate of the button, and similarly the Y coordinate of the button. Okay, so I'm taking this really slowly because it's quite important. Obviously it's essential to get the movement part of this goal that we had correct. So now it's a happy IDE. So we're actually taking on the value of where the button is currently by using the get method of the button to get the value of the X field, as Netscape calls it, or the property or the attribute, depending on which language you're coming from. So X is assigned the value of the current value of X, and we add 5 pixels to it, and it will go to the right when it's reset. Y takes on the value of the current coordinate Y, and then we use set location to set it to the locations of X and Y. This is actually should be quite straightforward once one understands what the nomenclature is, that is what these methods are doing and why we are capturing X and Y. We could have just put this whole expression into here as a message to send to the receiver JB to set location, but it would have looked very cryptic, and so that wouldn't have been good, especially in a tutorial. So I've explicitly placed them into instance variables X and Y, but that is in fact good practice anyway for object-oriented programming. Right, well, if we try to run this, we will get what you can't quite see at the moment in the output. You'll get unsupported exceptions. Now the reason for this is the very kind offer of the IDE to put in a throw of an exception down here, which I'm going to remove because actually it is supported. So I get rid of that and we run it. And we don't get a blizzard of red in the output. We just get this. Okay, for the moment of importance, does it work? Well, I'm going to press the right arrow key. Oh, look at that, it does move. And I'm going to press the left arrow key and it doesn't do anything. In actual fact, I don't know if I can show this to you easily, but I'll try. Yes, here we go. Look at all of this. Right. Well, that's all happened because we've still got those throw exceptions in the unsupported handlers below. So it won't take a genius to work out. We just remove them, and that's what we're going to do. And we do it twice. So basically we've just got empty braces around here. In fact, we don't even need it to look like that. It can look, it can look just like this, and indeed normally is shown or is seen like that. So it kind of makes it actually clearer that we're doing literally nothing with those handlers at all. And now we run it again because I have to end what I was running. I apologize. You can't see that, but that's what the delay is for. And when I run it again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to move it to the right, which it works, and I'm going to try and press the left, down and up, and I do not get that blizzard of red. So that's fine. I've actually got the key press right being captured. In actual fact, we will be very easily able to capture the other 3 keys. It's a matter of copying and pasting. And before you see the next tutorial, you might actually like to have a go at that. When I say next tutorial, I meant you might like to pause this one and have a go at it later yourselves. Okay, so in order to move left, we do much the same thing, only we actually move it to the left by taking away 5 pixels. I'll just show that. I'm just going to literally copy and paste, and this is why I repositioned these methods so that you could easily see it. So I'm going to change that to say left, and obviously we've got to change the method name. It's screaming at me saying, oh, you've already got this. And so I change it to left. I change that sign and it will go left, and we don't have to do anything else here except of course make sure it doesn't say right wall, but left wall. Wall being a suggestion that the frame, or sorry, the panel has walls to it, or the screen has walls to it, like a corral around horses in the Wild West on farms. Okay, so if we're going to move left, we've got to actually tell it to do so when the key pressed is the left key. So we're going to use this trick of copy and pasting. It's quite fun, so let's do it again. So we do that exactly again here. Don't forget to get the right handler. We want the key pressed handler. We don't want the other two at all. So we're going to ask the question, is the left arrow key pressed? And we're going to change this to the left version of the constant. And of course we're going to move left and not right. Well, obviously we should test this before we move on, and that's what we'll do. Just run it and see if that works. So I know it goes right, look, it does, and it goes left, yes it does. So it goes right and left, doesn't go up or down. I've pressed those keys, nothing happens. We don't get the blizzard of red either. So that's good. Now to get it to move up or down is slightly different, but not a lot. So you might like to pause the tutorial here and see if you can get yours to work correctly without, and then check to see if it is what I did. Well, the essence of moving up the screen is actually to change our focus from the X coordinate to the Y coordinate. If you recall, counterintuitively I think, the Y coordinate decreases as you move towards the top of the panel, as you get towards 0. So we actually need to subtract 5 from the Y coordinate, so we use the get Y method of the button, and we assign that to Y. This is the key part here, and then we do the same trick of using set location. The complaint here is, of course, it's not wrapped around in anything, so we're going to pop it into a helper method. Well, let's just use copy and paste again because that is so helpful, and we're going to attempt to move the avatar up this time, and we're going to move up, and we're going to move towards the top. In fact, I've already done that down here, so I'll just cut that and overwrite this. And I'm deliberately doing this methodically and not pausing and showing it have been pasted, because I do get queries about how you actually do this in practice, and I do find a lot of students don't actually use copy and paste enough. So there we have it, moving up. Will that move it up? Well, I think it will. Let's just carry on and do moving down. I will just paste that in for you. Well, this is the moving down, and basically we just change the sign of instead of decrementing, incrementing by 5. Let's run this and see if it works. Well, here's our screen, and if I press the right button, arrow button, sorry, it goes right, and if I press the left arrow button, it goes left. If I press the down arrow button, it doesn't go anywhere, and if I do press the up arrow, it doesn't move anywhere. So something was wrong. Can you think what might be wrong? There's nothing wrong with the move up method, there's nothing wrong with the move down method. Well, you probably got that right. Yes, we actually do have to tell it to do it. This is another common error I see students make when they're trying to do this sort of creative enterprise. They forget that the program is a program of instructions, and the computer carries them out slavishly. If they're not there, it won't do it, and they're not there. So what we need to do is add to this 2 instructions, basically, or selections. to check when the other two directions are met. I'm just going to do that by magic, and I'll come back in a moment. Well, here's the magic done, and I'll leave you to have a look at this. Really, I've asked if the arrow key is the up arrow key is pressed, and if it is, I move up. If the down arrow key is pressed, I move down. I've added also, if the escape key is pressed, which happens to be VK escape, as the constant one is looking for, then we set it back to where it started, which was 5, 5. 5x is 5 and y is 5 coordinates. Well, let's see if that works now. There we have it, and I move down arrow key and it goes down, right it goes right, up it goes up, and if I press the left arrow key it goes left, but it still goes off the form, so we need to do something about that. Or do we? In your game it might be it goes off the left and comes on the right hand side if it was something like an asteroid game, but normally you do have to take account of constraints before you move the avatar in a game. If I press the escape key, which I'm just about to do now, it jumps back to 5, 5. So we have a working, we've achieved our goals. We have created a form, we have created a screen inside the form, we have put an avatar inside on the screen, and we've been able to move it around according to key presses, in particular the arrow keys. There are some things we need to take cognizance of next, which are in a sense quite details of the project, and they are: what kind of costume, as it were, will the tile have, or the avatar, the button? What kind of picture will it have in it? Icon. There are questions about constraints. I've left those to the final tutorials because they are essentially dependent on what you're going to do with this technology, as it were, this technique. So for some of you this may be the final part of the tutorial that you need. However, the next part of the tutorial will cover those techniques and what may be important characteristics of the game that you may be creating.